For those of you who don't know me, haven't met me, my name is JP. I'm the Director of Technology for KW Empower. You have all almost certainly seen, and I am well aware, probably ignored emails from me in the past, but I'm positive I'm in your inbox. One of the recent emails that I sent you has a link to the Google Drive folder that you see on the screens up here. So this has a recording of the first Lone Wolf training I did in Philadelphia. It also has an FAQ sheet for Lone Wolf Transact Command Edition, and a couple helpful links, one of which we're going to be using as a part of this class. But generally speaking, if you have questions, after this class is over, there's a very good chance you will find the answers in this Drive folder somewhere, but you can always also reach out to me. My email address is tech@kwempower.com. That's TECH@kwempower.com. Please feel free to reach out to me with any questions, concerns, issues, moments of panic, which, again, if my experience is any indicator, there won't really be many moments of panic. The agents that have already started this transition, the feedback is that it's a very smooth one, it's a very good product, and that there's not really been any issues. So hopefully we will continue that trend. Also, for any of you who don't know, it does bear mentioning that your KW provided DocuSign accounts are going to be fully closed on July 14th. So just be prepared for that. My recommendation really is to finish out any existing opportunities that have already been created a DocuSign room. Finish them out through DocuSign, but every new opportunity going forward, start in Lone Wolf, so that you don't have any rooms that are kind of sitting in limbo when that closure occurs. In terms of your documents, primarily your documents should also have been uploaded to Command, so you will have a record of them that way. So you don't need to worry about necessarily saving all of your documents. The market centers are also exporting all the data from the rooms. So I will make sure, if it hasn't already been started for Princeton, I will make sure to get that taken care of, so that the market center will have a copy of all of your documents from all of your rooms. But by and large, you shouldn't have to export your documents of your own accord unless you very much want to. But that's why we're trying to give you as much notice as possible. Actually, the original closure date was June 14th, and KW pushed it an extra month, so it is now July 14th. All right, so we're going to start with connecting your account. So as you can see in my command, I have already connected my account. So this is just going to look a little bit different than yours, but that's why we have this handy dandy guide that I created that's going to walk you through with some pictures of what you should be seeing if you have not yet created and set up your account. So if you don't already know this, when you go into Command and you click the your name or your image in the upper right-hand corner of the screen, in the drop-down, you'll be able to see Settings. And when you click Settings, it's going to take you to your integration settings. So you may have to scroll down a little bit to the section that says Digital Signature and Transactions. There you will see Lone Wolf, and it will say Not Connected, and it will have a button that says Connect Account. When you click that button, you're going to get a pop-up window asking you to sign in. I am going to zoom this out a little bit so you can see more at the same time. So it's going to give you a pop-up window asking you to sign in. You will see in that same window, it'll say if you don't have an existing account, click sign up. That is right underneath the continue button. And once you do that, you will see the exact pop-up that you see here, where it's going to ask you for your first name, last name, country, state. Your email address will already be filled in, and then a password. So once you hit continue. You should get a code to your email, and then just enter the code to complete the connection process. One of the nice things about Lone Wolf and its connection to command is that unlike DocuSign, you can use whatever email address you darn well please. So if you do not use your KW email address, you don't have to worry. You can use whatever email address you'd like, and it will not give you any trouble the way that DocuSign did. Any questions about that portion? Yeah.
I already am connected, and so I probably want to change my email address back to AOL. Do I just go in and change it?
There should be a way for you to go in and change it inside of Lone Wolf settings. But if you have any trouble, shoot me an email and I can investigate further for you.
Also, if you forgot your password, you just say that and I'll send it to you. I guess, or reset it.
Yeah, so the same way that most platforms work these days, there'll be a forgot password option, and then it'll send you a verification code and you follow through those steps. One of the other really nice things about the Lone Wolf Command Edition, though, is that by and large, it should use your command login as a single sign-on. So you shouldn't really ever have to input your Lone Wolf password if you are accessing it through command. So kind of see if I come over here and I hit go to transact. You'll see it's going to the authorized KW, and then it's going to Lone Wolf. So instead of me having to log into Lone Wolf, it is using the fact that I'm already logged into command and using that as a single sign-on.
Hello, Tom.
Creating an account, and it said this. Looks like something went wrong. There could be a misconfiguration in the system or a service outage. Then your best bet, usually if that happens, it is just something that can be fixed by clearing your cache on your browser. Usually it just has to do with some bad cookies. Pamela, when you say you don't see the sign-on on command, are you saying you don't see the place to connect your Lone Wolf account? What do you mean by the sign-on?
Well, I'm in command,
Okay.
but I don't know. I thought there was supposed to be a Lone Wolf tag.
Yeah, so from command,
Yep.
you're going to go to your name in the upper right-hand corner.
Upper
When you
left
click
hand,
that,
upper right hand. Okay.
yeah, when you click your name, you're going to see settings. You're going to click on settings.
Okay.
It's going to take you to the integrations page, just like this.
Got it.
You're going to scroll down to where you see digital signature and transactions, and Lone Wolf will be right under there. And you'll see this button that says connect account.
Already pressed it. Okay. I put any email in there.
Any
Okay.
email you want, but when you first press it, it usually takes you to a sign-in screen. You're looking underneath the continue button on that screen. You should see an option to create an account.
Right. Interestingly enough, mine says sign into Lone Wolf.
Yeah, it's going to say sign into Lone Wolf, but since you don't yet have a Lone Wolf account, you're just going to click the button that says create and then fill out the info.
Sign up.
Yep.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. All right. So once you sign up, you will be able to see in your opportunities. We have one more question. Perfect. Glad you are connected. All right. So let's take a look here at my example opportunities. It's funky with the zoom on this thing. There. All right, so now that I have connected my Lone Wolf account, if I come into an opportunity that has not yet been synced with an e-signature provider, you'll see this button now says sync with e-sign provider because I currently, until they close the DocuSign accounts, I have a DocuSign account connected and a Lone Wolf account connected. But it doesn't matter what this button says. Once you connect your Lone Wolf account, you can click this button and it'll either automatically create the transaction in Lone Wolf, or you will see Lone Wolf Transact as an option. But either way, once you have your opportunity created and you pick your checklist type, this button is the button that'll do it for you. If you are, again, familiar with the DocuSign workflow, this should not be any different to you so far. The only difference is that you're looking for Lone Wolf instead of DocuSign. Something else that you're going to see while you're in here, once you pick your checklist type, is that inside of your checklist, the required documents, or at least the majority of the required documents, should have an LW next to them. If yours don't, I will work on following up and making sure that that gets put in there for you, because that's something that we can set up on the Market Center side. Just realized that I didn't confirm that we did that for Princeton yet, but I'll make sure that that occurs. So once that happens, if it hasn't already happened, you will see this LW next to a number of different options here. So this LW means that when you create the Lone Wolf, yeah, what's up, Mickey?
With the e-signer connection, does that work for specific forms, or is that strictly DocuSign?
So that sign in with e-sign provider is looking for e-signature platforms that are connected to your command. So for instance, I still have my DocuSign connected because it hasn't been closed yet, but also Lone Wolf is now connected as well. Some people have a .loop connection. That is dependent on the Market Center, and then the agent is responsible for paying for that .loop themselves. ZipForms doesn't have a direct connection with DocuSign, but realistically, and I'm saying this as a fully unbiased, not compensated in any way person, I really don't see a reason to use any e-signature provider other than Lone Wolf. I have not used one that I think works better, and the connection with Command is so smooth that it just makes all the sense in the world.
So I'm connected to Lone Wolf, and I'm also connected to DocuSign. So if I wanted to start a new opportunity in Lone Wolf, I just have to click it under sync.
Yep, when you click sync with eSign provider and you have multiple connected, you get to choose which one you're creating the sync, and you're just going to choose Lone Wolf.
Okay. And it looked like if I go back into, when I sign in, it looked like there was an edit thing on the right-hand side for the email. But does that create the account? It only happened before, once you create it, you don't see that pop up.
I'm not sure specifically what you're looking at, but again, if you have issues when you're on your computer later, shoot me an email and we can. Yeah. All right, we have another question in the chat. Just signed in Lone Wolf via command that asks me to create an MLS dashboard. I'm trying to enter my MLS is right, but it's also asking me for my agent ID, and I'm not sure what to enter for that. My license number. So, Dan, your MLS ID can be found inside of Bright. If you do an agent search and search for yourself, it will show up right there. I'm sure there's also a way to view it in your settings, but that's usually what I do when I'm looking for an agent's MLS ID, is I just do an agent search in Bright, search for their name. When I find them, make sure it's the correct person, and then your MLS ID is, I think it's a 6-digit code that's right in there.
Sorry, what do we need the ID for?
So we're going to get into that in just a moment.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Pamela, your questions keep getting cut off. I don't know if you just want to come off mute and ask your question verbally.
Okay, my screen says agent experience. What do I do next?
Where are you seeing agent experience?
Well, I just signed in and it asked me if I wanted agent or broker.
Yeah, so you're going to select agent.
Right, I did. And it's
Okay,
come up with a screen that says agent experience. And the option I have is to go back or X out of it.
you can just X out of it. You should
Uh,
be set now.
Okay. All right. Now I've got a screen. Okay. Your dashboard isn't set up, complete setup.
Yeah, so it's asking you to complete your setup. You'll just fill out the fields that are there. I think it just asks for your MLS ID, and maybe one other piece of information, but just fill out the information it's asking for, and then you should be good to go.
Okay, my MLS, what if I have more than one MLS?
So if you have more than one MLS, you can add those in there. Shoot me an email and I'll send you very specific instructions on going back and adding additional ones. I would start by just using your primary MLS ID. I'm assuming for you guys it's still bright for most properties. But I know that especially close to the shore, there's a lot of like weird tiny MLSs. So
Somerset County.
yeah, so you can shoot me an email and I'll kind of send you
Okay.
some more specific instructions.
Okay.
All right, so let's jump back over to command here. So what I was saying is the LWs here tell you that when you create the transaction, it should already add those documents to the transaction automatically. So, saving you the time of having to go in and manually add documents unnecessarily. Most, if not all of your required documents are already going to pull in. So if I click Lone Wolf Transact, it's going to create a transaction for me. And you'll see it's already added a bunch of the paperwork to the transaction in the corresponding folders. So there is a folder for consultation, under contract, and closed, which if you notice lines up perfectly with consultation, under contract, and closed as your 3 checklist types in the documents tab of your opportunity. That is by design. So you should never have to, unless you very specifically want to organize your files differently, you should never have to change the working folder here because it is going to look for the exact correct working folder based on which checklist you're looking at. All right, so when you come into your transaction, if you need to add paperwork, beyond what already populates in there, or the first time that you log in, clicking add paperwork is also going to be how you link your NRDS ID so you can get your association forms. So if we hit add paperwork, we have the option to add forms from libraries. So, I can look for the Bright Library or the Nexus Library or the Pardocs, any of these different libraries that I have access to. I can also just hit upload to upload a file. But the first time you come in here, so for mine, it already has my NRDS linked, so it says update NRDS ID. But yours, the first time, will look like this, and we'll say click here to link NRDS ID. If you click that, it's going to give you this little pop-up where you add your last name, your NRDS ID, and one of the states that you are a member of an association in. So if you have multiple licenses in multiple states and you are a member of an association in each of those states, you only need to select one for it to link properly. If you do not know your NRDS ID off the top of your head, there's a handy little link right below that says click here if you need help finding your NRDS ID, and it will ask you for your last name and your email address. If you do use that option, please just make sure that you are using the email address that you would have used when you first signed up with NAR. A lot of people had a very different email address back when they were first starting out, and they try putting in the email address they're currently using, and then they don't know why they're not finding their NRDS ID. It's because it is looking at what NAR has on file for you. I used my Bright info. Is that okay? So that's perfect for setting up your dashboard, but for this specific section, it is looking for your NRDS ID because it needs to know that you're a member of an association so you can get access to those forms. Yes.
The forms that are auto-populating we're currently using, are those updated real time if this page is made?
Yep. Yeah, so once you add them to the room, to the transaction, then it is static once it's added. It is not going to auto update if the association, for instance, makes any changes. It's not going to change what's already in your transaction. Yeah, if you create a new transaction and the day before they had been updated by the association, it will pull the most up-to-date association docs. That is, of course, assuming that the association bothered to push out their update to everyone, but they're usually pretty good about that. Pamela, if you're referring to the NRDS over here, like I said, there's a little link.
No, I don't think so. It's still on the sign-in.
So that's looking for your MLS ID.
It says MLS, and then below that it says agent ID.
Yeah, when it says agent ID, it's just looking for your MLS ID. But if you are concerned that it is incorrect, take a screenshot, send it to me in email, and we can address it.
All right, I see what happened. Thank you. Got it.
Yep.
Thanks.
I don't see where I can add that. If you are referring to the NRDS ID, again, when you go to add paperwork here in the paperwork tab, you will get a big pop-up that looks like this, where it says add a form or document, and then down at the bottom, you will see a little button that says click here to link NRDS ID, and that is where you will get this pop-up where you can put in your last name, your NRDS ID, and NRDS state. All right, so let's now So the add paperwork section, when you are in the transaction, you're looking to be under the paperwork tab, and then it's this button all the way over here on the right. You'll need to be inside of a transaction to see that. All right, so now that we have our transaction created, we have our documents inside of our transaction. Now we can start working with those documents. So I can come in here and say, you know what, I want to send out everything for the consultation. So I'm going to select the consumer notice, the RESPA, the buyer agency contract. And there's a handful of different options here. You can jump right to the signature section. I like to start in the editor. So if I click on editor here, so over on the left, it's going to show you all your forms and documents, and it's going to show you your workspace. Workspace is basically, these are the documents that you are currently editing and working on. And then everything else is going to be down here where it says grab from transaction. If as you're doing things with the workspace, you realize, you know what, I also want to drag, this form, and I want to work on this as well. You just click and drag it up into your workspace, and it will add it to the documents that you're working on. This should all look very familiar to you in terms of, filling out and editing the forms. It is not that different from DocuSign, but there are a couple cool things here. So under listing info, so if your opportunity inside of Command has the listing connected, a bunch of this listing info will pull over from that opportunity, but you can come here and just fill in any missing information, and the info you put over here is going to fill in into the documents, into the forms. Same thing with offer info. You can put in the information into offer info here, and it will fill it into the forms for you. Clauses is one of my favorite cool little things. A lot of agents have certain language or clauses that they add to most, if not all, of their contracts. One of the big examples that I give is a weekend and holiday clause. I know a lot of agents who, in all of their agreements of sale, just slap something in there that says, hey, if a transaction due date would fall on a weekend or a holiday, it is going to be due on the following business day instead of falling on that weekend or holiday. So instead of having to add that manually to every single contract, you can create that as a clause and then just add it into your contracts from this clauses section over on the right. Tools lets you add text box, mark throughs, highlight, etc. Once you are done working with everything in here, you can save it, you can print it, you can download it, or you can click prepare signing. When you go to prepare the sign, it's going to create a signing name, but you can change that to make it whatever you want. So you can say demo buyer consult package. And then you'll choose the return folder. This is a part of the consultation, so I'm just going to make sure that the signed documents also go into the consultation folder. I'll hit create. All right, so the first thing when you create a signing is you're going to want to add participants. And you want to click the button that says add participants and then hit add from transaction. This is going to pull up from your opportunity who is affiliated with this transaction as far as your opportunity is concerned. So we can use example buyer and myself as the buyer's agent. Under type here, you have remote signer, reviewer, and CC. I know North Jersey in particular does a lot of attorneys. So if there is an attorney on the file that just wants to review a document before it ever gets sent out for signature, it's nice and easy to do that. Add them as a reviewer and then set a signing order. So when you set signing order, you get to choose who appears, who gets the document first, second, third, etc. And if someone's set as a reviewer, they have to review and say, yes, this is good to go before it will go on to anyone else for signature.
John?
Yeah.
Can you put everybody as number one? I do that on DocuSign.
Yeah, so you can, if you're going to do that and you want it to go out to everyone at the same time, just uncheck set signing order, and then it will just go out to everyone simultaneously. So you'll see this little red exclamation point here. That is because example buyer does not have an email address. So we're going to fix that. Okay, and now we're going to save. And now that they have an email address, it's not going to yell at me anymore. If you want to jump, you can just scroll here to see all of the documents. But if you want to jump to a particular document, you click the Docs tab here, and then just click on that document, and it'll jump you over. This trackpad is killing me. So I apologize. But all right, tools. Your signer actions, again, these should not look drastically different from what you're used to inside a DocuSign. You need to add a signature, you need to add an initial, a text line, a checkbox. You can put attachments, you can put drop downs, you can add their full name, email address, auto date, auto time, text box, strike through, highlight, all that good stuff. And in order to select who you are, adding those fields for, you're just using the little drop down here to switch between your signers. One thing I really love is that it has this all signers section. So if you have a document that just needs everyone's initial on one spot, instead of having to manually go through every single signer and add that initial field, you just hit all signers and then click initials and it'll add it to the document. You just move them where it needs to go. Layouts is another really cool thing. So if you used templates inside of DocuSign, this is essentially the same concept. You are just saying, you know what, using these pre-placed signing fields and these markups, this is how I always want this document to look when I use this layout, and create a layout for yourself that you can then apply anytime you use that document in a different transaction. Any questions about preparing a signing so far, or does this feel pretty straightforward with like what you're used to? So again, you have the option to print, to download, to save. If you have clients that do not do technology and you need to have them wet sign something, you can do all your markups and then you can print the file from there, and then take it over to them to wet sign. But if you're ready to send out for signature, you can just hit next. Then it's going to ask you about expiration and reminders. So every single signing that you send out, you can have expire after a certain amount of time, and you can set reminders to go off at intervals that you decide. So this is something very time sensitive. I can say, you know what, I'm going to send a reminder every day at 9 a.m. and have it go out every day. If it's not as time sensitive, you can say, you know what, every 4 days, every 5 days, and have them go out a little bit more sporadically. If you want to add custom verbiage to any particular signer's invite, you can click where it says custom invites, and then for each signer, you can adjust exactly what is being sent to them. So, the email address obviously shouldn't change, but you can put in the email subject and then a custom message. You can also save messages and then import them. So if there's specific verbiage that you like to use when you send out certain documents, you can save that message and then use it in the future. Dan, that is a good question. I haven't dug too deeply into the templates feature, but I can take a look at that. If you shoot me an email, I'll do a little bit more digging and then send that info out to you. All right, so once you set your expiration and reminders, then you can just hit send, and it'll go out to your clients. I will tell you, having used this for transactions already, the client experience is very smooth and easy. It's very easy for them to do the signing either on desktop or laptop or on their phone. It's also very easy to create and send out the signing on your phone. Lone Wolf is really designed to be extremely mobile friendly. So you just load up Lone Wolf in your browser on your phone and go through it just as easily as doing it on your computer. Once you send out a signing, jump into a different transaction, so you can see. So once you send out a signing, you'll be able to see it in the signings tab. You will see the status, so it'll say, pending if you haven't sent it out yet, or sent, or completed, whatever the progress is. You'll be able to see the progress bar, and if you hover over the little information symbol, you'll be able to see, okay, I did all my signing, but Matt still needs to do his. You'll be able to see when it was last modified. You can resend it. You can reset it. You can duplicate it. You can force completion. You can see signing details. You can delete. But it's nice to be able to keep track of, exactly what's happening with your signing here. Any questions about anything that we've covered to this point? I'm in the middle of transaction. Will it transfer over? Is there something I need to do manually? So are you talking about if you have an existing opportunity that you already started in DocuSign? Okay, so anything that you already started with one e-signature provider, you need to finish out with that e-signature provider. Technically, you could download all the signed documents from that DocuSign room, create a new opportunity that matches with the information from that old opportunity, connect the new opportunity to Lone Wolf, start a Lone Wolf transaction, and do the rest of the paperwork that way, and then manually upload the old documents from DocuSign into that opportunity. It's just more time consuming to do it that way. So long as the transaction is going to close before mid-July, just finish out that particular opportunity inside of DocuSign, and then any new opportunities that come up, start them inside of Lone Wolf. All right. Well, there's not that much more to go over. And yeah, like I said, if you're not sure that it's going to close before the DocuSign accounts go away, that would kind of be your workflow, is to download a PDF of all the signed documents, create a new opportunity, make sure that you're just kind of duplicating the information for the new opportunity, sync the new opportunity with Lone Wolf, and then kind of proceed from there, and then just manually upload those old files into the new opportunity. All right, so we're going to finish out talking about the command side of things. So first of all, over here, you're going to see sync is up to date and sync to transact. There's a bunch of information, like I said, in the details of the opportunity that will sync over to Lone Wolf. It is only a one-way sync, though, so if you make an adjustment to the property information, for instance, inside of Lone Wolf, that will not sync back to command. So kind of the best practice there is to make any changes inside of command and then sync them over. Grab this. Okay, so once you have signed documents, like I said, it's already going to default to attached files from Lone Wolf and the correct working folder. So you'll just be able to hit this drop down and see, unlike the DocuSign connection, you will only see signed documents in this drop down. So no more kind of sifting through to figure out and make sure you're using the right version of the document. It will only show you signed copies in here. So it really should be very simple to upload. And same as before, if you have manual files that need to be added, so like PDFs on your computer, just click the drop down under attached files from, switch to my computer, and then you can browse for the files or drag and drop them.
or even bring it from the Lone Wolf back. If somebody signed it there in Lone Wolf.
So if someone signed in Lone Wolf, like I said, by default, it'll say attach files from Lone Wolf Transact. You should be able to just click the drop down next to the corresponding document, and it should show up in your list here. It will only show signed documents though, so you don't have to worry about accidentally uploading the unsigned version or anything like that. That's really it. You guys tell me, does this feel terribly different from what you're used to in terms of your workflow?
Except it's on this information.
Yeah,
That's why
there's little things like, where the buttons are, but generally speaking, I have found Lone Wolf to be very intuitive and very user-friendly. And particularly the experienced agents that I have gone through this training before have kind of agreed with that. I also just find it to be a good platform. I haven't, knock on all the wood, I haven't had any agents coming to me with like serious issues. So far everything has been very smooth. So my recommendation again is just all of your opportunities from here on, just start them in Lone Wolf, make the transition now so that, in 2 months when DocuSign goes away, there is not this sense of urgency and having to rush to get things moved over. Looks like we might have one more question here. Perfect. All right. Any final questions before let's see. In DocuSign, create a packet a while ago for all the buyer forms normally used, as well as a separate packet for all of the seller forms I normally use. So equivalent to this Lone Wolf. So Dan, to answer your question, well, I will partially answer your question and partially potentially answer your question. So a big part of this, a big part of what we've done with Lone Wolf is setting it up so that most of the documents you need already get added to the transaction to kind of avoid you having to create things like that. Because you see here under consultation, every single required document is already going to pop into the transaction for me. And for the most part, you should only really need to add one-offs. So that's the partial answer. The partial potential answer is that I believe that the templates, option that you were referring to inside of Lone Wolf actually does what packets used to do, but just don't quote me on it because like I said, I haven't dug too deep into the templates feature. Really been focused on just making sure that everyone has the kind of core basics. Yeah, so you can add files, parties, and to-dos, so that tells me that I'm probably correct here. Where since we've got the time, we'll say demo, it's personal. This is a description. Yeah, and then you add paperwork, and so that looks to be roughly the equivalent of packets. But like I said, the need for packets overall should be mostly eliminated because of how the market center is setting up to have the documents already added to the transaction. All right, well, any last questions?
When does it prompt you to send the email? Like in DocuSign, before you can send it, you have to write an email, it seems.
So
if my memory serves me on how it.
Yeah, so when they were setting up Lone Wolf specifically for Command, they listened to a lot of feedback as it pertains to DocuSign. And I think one of the pieces of feedback they got was that, most of the time, you don't really feel the need to curate a custom email to go out. But in the event that you do, that is going to be, so if I hit next here, that's that customize invites button that we talked about. So right before you send it out, when you choose your expiration date and you set your reminders, you can hit customize invites, and that's where you can go in and add that custom messaging. If you add nothing there, it's just going to send out to them normally, and it'll say, hey, you've been invited to this signing. Click here to start signing. All right, well, if there are no other questions, then I will leave you with my standard disclaimer of if you think of a question in 5 minutes, 5 days, 5 weeks, etc., please, again, tech@kwempower.com. Just shoot me an email. I'm more than happy to answer any questions that you have. You also always have the ability to book time on my calendar. So I know that the KW Empower agents are sick of me talking about this, but if you go to kwempower.com/dashboard, you can go to the Learn Command/Tech section, and then you can book some time with our Director of Technology. That's me. You can set up a Zoom meeting with me, and Zoom allows me to request remote control of your computer. So if you are having a particular issue that you're like, oh no, but you would need to be on my computer to fix it, don't worry, I got you. As long as you're not on a Chromebook, you shouldn't be on a Chromebook anyway, because they're low. But please don't hesitate to reach out to me. Don't hesitate to book time with me. I'm here to be a resource and make this transition as smooth and easy as possible for everyone. All right?
Thanks so much.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Oh, Denise, you have a question.
I have a question. You may have covered this before because I was in and out. I was muted because I was multitasking. I'm going to watch the video. Is that going to be disseminated like via broadcast email?
Yes. So this is actually the third time I'm teaching and recording this class. So
Okay.
Once I have the recording, I'm going to add the recording for this class and the one that I taught in Delaware last week. I'm going to add them to the Google Drive folder that I sent out, and I'm going to resend it out to everyone. So there will be 3 recordings that you can watch, as well as the FAQ sheet and the other helpful links.
Awesome. Thanks, JP. And then the only other question I had, and you may have covered this, so forgive me, but like if I have a transaction coordinator, do they need their own Lone Wolf login, or do they use mine? What do you recommend?
So generally speaking, they're going to use yours. And if they already have your command login, Lone Wolf is actually using your command login for single sign-on purposes. So if they're logged into your command and they launch Lone Wolf, which Pamela, I see your question. I'm transitioning very smoothly into your question right now. But if they launch Lone Wolf from your command, it will recognize that they're logged into command, and they won't even have to log into anything additional.
Great.
Login.
Their own command login. So that kind of gets into like weird like agent choice territory where, where do you want your documents, your signature, your e-sign coming from? If you want it coming from, for visibility purposes, then you'd want to make sure that they have access to your stuff. If you don't care where it comes from, so long as it gets signed, then they can make sure that they are sending it out like to you for signature, to the client for signature, and then if they're added as like an admin to your personal team, which I still hate that verbiage, but that's a recent shift. If you essentially have an admin that's linked to you in command that can, from their own login, get into your opportunities and they can upload that way, that's great. Otherwise, again, they would need to log into yours, download, upload, kind of the way that they've probably been doing it. But Pamela, to your question, from command, there are a couple different ways that you can launch Lone Wolf. So from an opportunity that you've already synced, you can just click this Go to Transact button, and that will take you directly to that transaction inside of Lone Wolf. And if you go to your settings and you go to Lone Wolf here, there's a button that says Go to Transact right under this. When you click that, it's going to launch Lone Wolf for you, and it won't launch a specific transaction. It will launch you into your transactions screen. And Sneha, it looked like you had your hand up.
Yes, hi. Thank you so much. I'm also couldn't join earlier because I think the link didn't work. So this may be something that you've already gone through, but I used to always have a hard time adding all my own details to every document. So even though I'm signing into my thing, is there any way that I can, set up that so that it's on all of the forms that I fill up moving forward?
Yeah, so there's a couple ways you can go about this, right? The quickest and easiest is to make sure that all of your different profile sections inside of Command are filled out correctly, because that's what's going to pull over into Transact. So for instance, under, if you click your name, instead of going to settings, you can go to my profile. There's some information in there. There's also under websites, you hit manage settings in the websites applet. There's kind of a bunch of your information there. So that's kind of step one. If there's additional stuff that is not designed to pull over that you want to make sure is always showing up, that's kind of one of the things you would use layouts for, is you can add those as markups to a document and then save that as a layout to that document. But if everything is working as correctly, which I know it didn't always in DocuSign, if everything is always working correctly and you have all of your profile information filled out inside of Command, it should pull over just about all of your info that's needed already from Command.
Okay, because mine never did. So imagine that every time I have to kind of do that manually.
Yeah. Now, like I said, DocuSign had some hiccups, but also, like I said, I would just double check and make sure that all of your profile information inside of Command, particularly in that website section, is filled out correctly.
Okay. All right. Sounds good. I'll check that right away. Thanks. Bye.
Of course. Well, thank you all for hanging in with me. Like I said, I'm going to send out this and all the other recordings, and please let me know if you need anything, all right?
Thank you.
Thank you.